Hi, Wheeling family. As the session begins to work and plan for us to regather here physically on the campus, there are a lot of physical considerations that we're working through. We have a team in place that is beginning to wrestle with all of the things that we will need to do regarding social distancing in order to make that happen. And we'll have more details for you in the days ahead. But the conversation I want us to start today is actually far more important to our health and our life here on this corner as the body of Christ than even these wise precautions and these practical considerations that we're working out. It's no secret that the virus and our response to the virus has in many ways deepened the polarization that already existed across our country. And now, how you respond to the virus, what you will do or what you won't do, has become, in a sense, a badge, a flag waved in loyalty to either Republican or Democrat, the right or the left, personal freedom or civic duty. And friends, as we look together to come out of our isolation and begin to gather again, it's paramount that when we come together again, we're coming as the one body of Christ, to worship the one who has made us one in him. It's very likely that our first gathering together will be to gather and eat the meal that Jesus gave us. This is our opportunity as we come together to live out what we've always confessed about our love for one another in costly practice. You see, when we begin to gather again on this campus as the body of Christ, as we did before, but now even so much more, we are not gathering together as primarily individuals with this wide range of personal opinions and perspectives. When we gather at this table, there are no special sections reserved for people who share our personal opinions and perspectives. We come as one body to one broad and wide table that is graciously spread for all who are baptized and confess Jesus as King. So when we gather on this campus in the coming weeks, under whatever physical precautions are deemed necessary by our session, we will not be gathering to send Harrisburg a message. And all of our concessions that we will have to make with these precautions to our ideal life together on this campus are not because we're living in fear of the virus, but in fact, our coming back together is coming back to eat the meal that is the sign of our union and communion with the risen Jesus and our union and communion with each other. See, when we come together to share the meal of communion, we come to put on display our unity. And by the very act of eating together in faith and forgiveness, we actually and really and truly deepen our communion and union with not only Jesus, but with each other. If we gather in order to express our individual political opinions or to demand our individual rights, there's a chance that we turn this table of union and communion into something very much like what the Apostle Paul in 1 Corinthians 11 reprimanded the Corinthian church for doing, turning the table of the Lord into something of a table of selfishness rather than a table of blessing and good for one another. But if we continue to put off our gathering at the same time, if we continue to delay in our eating together as the one people of Christ, then we miss out on what is absolutely necessary for our spiritual life, and we deny what is actually essentially true of us as the body of Christ, that we have been brought together as the body of Christ for the world. In the opening opening words of the final verses of 1 Corinthians 11, Paul summarizes all of the abuses that the first followers of Jesus in Corinth were inflicting on one another. by challenging them with these words: brothers and sisters, when you come together to eat, wait for one another. Friends, our work, and it is indeed serious work in these days, is to model for each other and our community that sort of waiting, a self-sacrificing and loving waiting and patience with one another that refuses to bring disunity into our family by insisting on our own opinions and personal leanings before embracing first our unity and our unity in Jesus and under his gospel. The next chapter, 1 Corinthians 12, after this chapter 11, is entirely devoted to the unity of the body, the church. And then 1 Corinthians 13 is entirely given over to the way of love, a deep, radical, countercultural love for one another. And that's the only sort of love that can bring about the unity in the body of Christ that Paul has been urging us towards. Because if let go, if we're left to ourselves, Paul tells us we will begin to destroy one another and devour one another. But Wheatland family, we won't do that because we have our marching orders in these 3 chapters. This is our work in the coming days as we're preparing to open our campus and to come together again. It is the joyful work to not be coming for ourselves, but to be coming for one another. Friends, this is unity that has been given to the church, and this is unity that we have to offer a watching world. This self-denying love is something that we can do to live out our mission on this corner, our mission of lovingly confronting this generation, this fractured and alienated from each other generation with the gospel of Jesus Christ. Wheatland family, I love you. I'm looking forward to being together with you on this campus again in worship and in praise and in thanksgiving as we eat this meal together. I'm praying for you, and I look forward to being with you this Sunday at 10:45 a.m. at our live stream service.